I want to sincerely thank the Bank Street alumni for this distinguished award. It is always so very special to get an award from one's peers. But I also have to thank the teachers who instilled so much in me. We wouldn't be here today without teachers, and I would be amiss if I didn't introduce my sixth grade teacher who is here tonight, Cy Flegel. Cy, stand up. I can't see you, but I know you're there. Cy taught me in Harlem, growing up in Harlem on 130th Street and Convent Avenue. And even though he wasn't a Bank Street alum, he was a phenomenal teacher, trained in City College. And I later went on to work for him as a deputy director for Community School District 4 with Carlos Medina and Cy Flegel. And then went on to work for him as president of Center for Educational Innovation, where he still is the president emeritus. And we thank you, Cy. In choosing Bank Street, I didn't just choose a college, I chose a philosophy. A college where I not only developed methods, skills, and enhanced my knowledge, but I clearly would come to understand what my responsibility was moving forward as an educator. First and foremost, I recognized that it wasn't just enough to be a great teacher. I had a responsibility to be an advocate for children. Bank Street made you realize that learning during your time here was just the beginning, that the onus was on you to become a lifelong learner. Throughout my career, I've had the wonderful opportunity to learn from every child I have taught, every family member I have met, every teacher, and many of you are here tonight, that I have worked with, and every leader that I have collaborated with, and the many clients I have worked with all over throughout the country. And I am still learning. You all have made me the educator I am today, and I am eternally grateful to that. I walk in the shoes of many educators, visionaries, mentors, and activists at Bank Street, who gave so much to me during my tenure at Bank Street and way beyond. By walking the walk, they led by example and demonstrated what we could be. They encouraged us to make the change in the world of education that we wanted and needed to see. These individuals include, but are not limited to, Virginia Schoenberg, my advisor, Pris Pemberton, who stays in my heart, Harriet Cufaro, Faith Ringo, Beryl Banfield. Now, I can't remember what I ate for breakfast yesterday, but I remember these names. Hal Melnick, Bettison, who's getting ready to retire, Bettison Shapiro, Rachel Rippey, Selma Nobler, and of course, Nona Weeks. The staff of Bank Street never leaves you. It is like they are embedded in our DNA. This room, though, as someone said before, has a very special meaning to me. For it is in this room, as Suzanne Carruthers will state, that I taught 3-, 4-, and 5-year-olds movement on this floor. It wasn't yesterday, but I still remember. It was in this group that I taught graduate students for 8 years every semester, starting when I was 24. It was in this very room that I choreographed and performed with Dolly, who's sitting out there, an alumni, choreographed dances for the Martin Luther King Day celebration, long before it was a national holiday. We celebrated it here. It was in this room that I did the book talk on my book. And it was in this room that we held the conference on early childhood for the Commission on Early Childhood and Child Care in New York City. But most important, it was in this room that the entire class of 1974, with all our families, graduated here. And we filled up the room, all of us. Now we're at Riverside Church. Amazing. This room seems to have a reoccurring theme in my life. So it only seems fitting that we are in this room today. A great woman once said, "Every great dream begins with a dreamer. Always remember you have the strength, the patience, and the passion to reach the stars to change the world." Who was this woman? Harriet Tubman. I also need to thank the amazing clients who I have worked with over the past 24 years in New York City and throughout the country. I feel extremely fortunate that we have engaged in exciting collaborations where we collectively have been able to create educational opportunities to better meet the multifaceted needs of children and the families that you work with. I plant seeds, but you water them and make sure they grow and flourish long after I am gone. Your dedication to children and your profession amazes me, and I applaud each and every one of you. Know that as alumni and advocates for social justice, we will sometimes agree with the direction that the college is going in, while in other times we're going to disagree. Know that our agreement or our disagreement is based on what you have taught us and our commitment to the issues and values that we hold so very dear. We now see the college going into communities that need to see our presence, communities that deserve our expertise, communities where we can make a difference, and we applaud these efforts from our college. Gandhi once said, "Happiness is when what you think, what you say, and what you do are in harmony." We at Bank Street pride ourselves as being advocates for children. We must be clear on where we stand, and the message must always be, we stand for children, we stand for best practices, we stand for equity and equality in education. We must never, ever compromise our basic beliefs. This is our bedrock here at Bank Street. So then I ask, if we know best practices, what is our role as alumni and as a college as a whole? As a former kindergarten teacher, and one of my children are here, two of my children are here today, who ran a developmentally kindergarten program in Chinatown, Harlem, and on the West Side, whose children explored and discovered consistently. My students were engaged and excited about coming to school daily and developed a love for learning that continued way beyond my kindergarten. So where are we, Bank Street, as a college in our city? So in our city, blocks were taken out of kindergarten classes. Let's be real. And some of them were thrown away and dumped in dumpsters. Where were we, Bank Street, when dramatic play and the water table and the sand table and the art area have disappeared now from kindergarten classes? Where were we when library areas were taken out and replaced with a library shelf, or when many of our schools in this very city have lost their school libraries entirely and are left with empty rooms? Where were we as a college when we went from 2 teachers in every kindergarten, and we know they need them, to 1 teacher? Our voice at Bank Street is recognized nationally and internationally. We must say something. When the people who know better do not stand up for children, the results can be disastrous. For developmentally appropriate practice should not magically disappear when the child turns 5. But we must continue to meet the needs of children academically, socially, emotionally, and physically throughout their school experience. And so I leave you with stand up for children, Bank Street. You can't afford to be silent. Every day, understand your critical role as an advocate for children, teachers, leaders, and families. Let your voice, our voice, be heard around the city and around the country. If not you, then who?